How's it going, all of you fellow fishing noobs? Happy 2023. Back out here again on this little pond. And the goal for this video today is to catch you up to speed to be able to fish with a spinning rod. Spinning reel. Anyways, this is a Daiwa BG3000 spinning reel. I've got this little salamander lizard paired on a Texas rig. So this is going to skip over the initial setting up of your reel. I'm going to assume that you have it set up, you have it spooled, you have a choice of whatever soft plastic or hard plastic, whatever you're fishing with, and now you're out here on a body of water wondering, what the heck do I do now? So a quick overview of everything. You have, of course, your line. This is 12 pound fluorocarbon. You have your reel itself, your handle, turn handle to go through and reel in line. You have your drag up top that you twist clockwise to tighten your drag and twist counterclockwise, or lefty-loosey, righty-tighty to loosen your drag. So if you twist it to the right or clockwise, that'll tighten your drag. And typically, like, it depends on how heavy your line is, but I don't know what pound drag my drag is set at. I just set it to where I feel like, all right, cool, that, I don't know, I got a feel for it. So set it to a point where, like, it's not easy to peel off line. Like, this is effortless. So this is basically no drag set. And then it should be to the point where, like, it doesn't take all of your muscle mass or all of your strength to peel line. It's like a happy in-between. If your drag is set too loose and you hook up on a fish, then you're never going to be able to reel in that fish because there's no tension on your line for you to go through and, like, reel in the fish. And then if your drag is too tight, when you go to set the hook, you risk going and snapping your line. So a general rule of thumb is to have your lure dangling maybe 6 to 12 inches from the tip of your rod. You're going to rotate your line catch to this position right here and hold it with your index finger. I know that some guys are like, don't hold it and put a ton of pressure on it because you won't have line sensitivity. And other guys saying, you know, like, it's okay to hold it and keep some pressure against the tip of your reel right here. I'd say do what feels best for you, because I can cast both ways. So I feel like it's just user preference and something that you have to get used to. It's muscle memory. I can see, though, if you have a death grip on it, it can be more difficult to release the line because it's a big timing game with fishing. It's a lot of coordination from the, like, backstroke, if you will, to, like, the release point to make sure that your lure goes where you are intending it to go and not, like, straight up in the air to the right, to the left, or whatever. I think one thing that you shouldn't do, though, is completely, like, encase your line around your finger. I feel like it would be very difficult to cast accurately that way, and there's more chance of your line getting hung up on your finger because, like, once you release, that line has more of your finger to have to clear before it's, like, free to unspool or just to unravel. So I normally have, like, the tip of my finger on my line, and, like, not the tip, but like in between that first joint and the tip of my finger, maybe a little bit closer to the tip of my finger. So normally that's about where I hold it. It's kind of like if you shoot, it's kind of like the same position where your finger is whenever you're on the trigger. So I've got my line right here on my index finger. I'm going to open up my bail, which is this little handle, this little guy right here. Once it's open, if I were to let go of the line, it just drops, right? So the goal is working on the timing of it. I have my lure about where I want it, 6 to 12 inches ish. I have my index finger on the line. I'm going to open up my bail, and what I see a lot of people doing sometimes is like twisting their whole body and then, like, casting, but I feel like that's really inefficient and it's unnecessary. Like, you have a tool, this fishing rod. This is a 7-foot medium heavy, fast action, ugly stick. So you have your tool, your fishing rod. This isn't a super thick and super like heavy rod. So use your fishing rod to your advantage. All I'm doing is I'm reeling back, I'm catching that. Is that a fish? It's not a fish. I am like I'm loading up the rod and then I'm whipping it forward. So I get this back without actually casting. What I'm doing is I'm loading up the rod and I'm just whipping it forward, and I am playing with the timing of releasing. So like if you release it too late, your lure will go straight into the water. If you release it too early, your lure is going to go straight up into the air. So it's finding that happy place, that in between. So I find it more comfortable, or most comfortable, I think that was another fish, to have my pinky behind the handle and then my other 3 fingers in front of the handle. And that is my holding position whenever I'm casting. So I'm holding it like this, and I'll try to get all of this in camera shot. Just flicking, letting go. And another thing is I will close my bail either before my lure hits the water, so especially like frog fishing with a bait caster, or just a little bit after my bait hits the water. So my left hand is like this, my right hand is down here. So I'm using my right hand to drive like the bottom of the fishing rod towards me to go through and create more speed as I'm casting. So like if I'm casting from over the shoulder, I'm here, and then, you know, my left hand is bringing that fishing rod forward, and then my right hand is driving that fishing rod like back towards me. So it's like creating that pendulum, that that kind of motion like that. And then same thing, so like if I'm casting from my right side, oh, it's a spider, thank you, go away. If I'm casting from my right side, my left hand is doing this with the rod, and my right hand is just on the bottom and flicking it in the opposite direction. So like my left hand is moving the rod tip towards like wherever I'm casting to, my right hand is doing the opposite. So it's a push-pull in a sense, like, and kind of, it's not literally a push-pull, but like my right hand is doing this and my left hand is just moving that fishing rod towards where I'm casting towards. Another thing that helps with accuracy, so like I pick a point that I want to cast to and I focus on that point, and then like once I'm casting, I will point my rod towards where it is that I'm casting to, and I feel like that helps focus, that helps me aim and get more accurate casts. And that's just for straight casting, that's not for doing anything like skipping it anywhere or like side casting or kind of anything else. So the easiest cast is just straight back over the shoulder. You don't have to go to like a 90, you can go to like a 45. It all depends. Like obviously if you go from a 90 to here, you should have more casting distance. And like whenever I'm casting it like this, that's pretty effortless. Like I'm not like trying to throw my fishing rod into the water. I'm not trying to like throw this lure out there. I'm using the design of the rod, the length of the rod, and like physics to go through and propel that lure out. Whoa, dude, that was, oh, no way. I was burning that back and I was not expecting anybody to follow it. Anyways, okay, cool. So it looks like these fish are wanting to chase. Anyways, that is the most common and like just the most basic casting. So like you can cast over the shoulder, you can cast more to like the right of your shoulder, you can cast completely sideways. It all depends. You can cast from the left, you can cast from the right. It takes practice and muscle memory. That would have been a sick catch. So like here, if I want to cast from my left side because I'm casting this way, I'm casting basically like at my midpoint and keeping it parallel to the ground, a little bit past like this 90-degree angle from the water, and then I'm just throwing out my rod and playing with the timing of releasing the line with my index finger and picking a point, casting it out, and going from there. That might have been another fish. That's a fish. Hey buddy, you might have been the one that came back earlier, or came up for it earlier. Because I have a fish right now, let's talk about what happens when you catch a fish, or whenever you have a bite. So bites normally feel like little tugs, and the easiest way to go through and know that you have a fish is when you set the hook. See you, dude. Thanks. When you set the water's kind of cold. It's surprising that they're chasing right now. When you set the hook, if you set the hook on a branch, that branch isn't going to move. If you set the hook on something that's alive, it will respond to your hook set. So that's the biggest tall tale, because like if you go through and like you muscle in a hook set and your line doesn't move at all, chances are you are snagged on a log underneath the water surface, or on someone's lure or a line, or just something underneath. But like there, I felt like a little nibble, and the easiest way to kind of get that is like to flick your line a little bit. And that's exaggerated, but like it'll like that's what a fish bite kind of feels like. It's like little nibbles like this. You do need a stronger hook set if you are burying your hook in a soft plastic and making it weedless, or if you are frog fishing, because you need those hooks to go up and penetrate into the fish's mouth or the fish's lip. So if you were to just gently, you know, take your lure, then it wouldn't have that penetration that it needs to go through and get into the fish's mouth. Casting is just it's a lot of repetition. It's going out, and I can't tell you how many times I went through and just practiced casting. Like, you can experiment with how you're casting. You can cast from the left, you can cast over the left of your shoulder, you can cast like straight up overhead, you can cast from the right over your right shoulder, you can cast like a parallel to the ground from your right. It all depends. So also, if you haven't already figured, I fish left-handed, but I'm right-handed. I don't know, I'm weird. I'm also cross-eye dominant. The thing is too, you don't need a body of water to practice casting. You can go through and cast in your driveway, in your backyard, in your front yard. It's a lot of repetition. It's a lot of going through and casting, retrieving, casting, retrieving, casting, retrieving. Picking a spot that you want to cast to, aim for it, focus on it, and then all of the timing, the proper length of line from your rod tip, going through and making sure that your eye is towards your rod, towards your, like you, index finger, going through and holding that line, opening up your bail, loading up your rod, casting it forward, releasing your finger, closing your bail, and then hopefully you're catching a fish. The thing that I'll cover real quick too is, so whenever you have a fish, you get a bite, you set the hook and you have a fish, you don't want to just muscle that fish in. I know that it's probably gonna be the first reaction. It's your first fish. You might have an adrenaline dump. You're like, oh crap, this is a fish. It's an actual fish. It's fighting back. I want you to fight the urge of just reeling like a madman. You want to set that hook and then keep tension. So normally what you do is you'll set the hook, you'll keep tension on the fish, and then as you're reeling, you are dropping your rod towards that fish to go through and like, you're still keeping tension, but it's less tension than if you had maximum leverage and tension on the fish and you're just reeling straight away. Because like, that's especially more important whenever you have lighter line and you're fighting a big fish, because like you can catch a 5-pound bass on 8-pound fluoro or like 6-pound fluoro, but it'll take a lot more finessing. So the reason why you don't want to just muscle in fish is you risk going through and snapping your line, especially like if the fish is around something and you're just yanking the heck out of the fish and trying to just go through and muscle in. You risk snapping that line, and then you risk losing a fish, which that's never fun, especially if it's your first fish. It's gonna be great because you'll be like, oh man, that was my first fish, but then it's gonna be really sad because it's like, I missed my first fish. But then you get addicted, and then you spend a bunch of money, and you have a bunch of reels and a bunch of rods, and you fish all the time. Welcome to the world of fishing. I know that you will enjoy it. Like I said, if you have any questions, specific questions, let me know down below. If I need to clarify on anything, let me know. I am more than happy to go through and help anybody that wants to learn how to get into this. Last thing before the end of the video, whenever you go through and catch a fish, be respectful of your fishery. Like, don't keep that fish out of the water for forever. You want to get him back into the water as soon as you can. You don't want to go through and kill the fish, because if you kill the fish, you can't catch them again, and other people can't catch them. So respect your fisheries, respect your fish, get them back in the water. They're fun to catch, but if we abuse them and kill the fish, then there's going to be less fish to catch, and that's not fun, and they're going to be smaller. Like, they're not going to be able to get to their proper huge size, because I'll tell you what, there is nothing like hooking up on a 5+. I can't even imagine a double-digit bass, nothing like that. But the only way to get there is if we respect our fisheries. We respect the fish, get them back in, keep them healthy. So that'll be it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Get out there, go catch yourselves a fish. Catch yourselves a couple fish. Hope that you're able to catch a big one. God is good. Y'all be blessed. Later. That's not a fish, that's a branch. Otherwise known as a branch fish. There we go, that's a fish. Don't you jump. Little guy. There we go. Let's see, buddy. Oops. I think I missed that one. Okay, let's see if we can get him back. There we go. The little guy. Whenever you're fishing as well, have some pliers on you. There are some times when you're not gonna be able to get that hook out of the fish's mouth without pliers. Our little dude. Get out there, grown to a 10-pounder, huh? There we go.